What is up, everyone? It's Thomas with Real Broker coming at you live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Going over the market stats, the news you need to know about, think about buying, selling, or investing here in Northeastern Florida. And we're also doing a Q&A. So if you have any questions about anything we cover here, whether it's going to be the market stats or some of the news or potential developments happening here in the area, let me know in the comments below. Whether you're watching live or the replay, I try to answer all the comments. So I always like to start everything out by asking where people are watching from. So you watching from South Florida, you watching from New York, New Jersey. I've had a ton of people reaching out to me from New Jersey recently. Whether it's about the taxes there, the cold, or just how it's being run. I've had a ton of people reach out to me about it. Either way, pretty interesting. But let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. We'll go ahead and get started. We always start out with the market stats. Then we go to the news stories. We start out with kind of a national news story, a state news story, and then we go to our local stuff. So let's go ahead and take a look at the market stats for this past month. And this is actually more of an update from what we talked about last week. If I remember correctly, we were only up 1.2% last week. So as we get through the month, more data gets entered into the MLS. And it starts to update a little bit better. So this is probably more accurate data than what we saw just about a week ago. And it's actually to the positive side, which, for the longest time, it hasn't been towards the positive side. So we're looking right now, we got 496,000 median sale price, up 2.4% from January of 2025. Now, when we're talking about $500,000 homes, guys, the difference of $11,000, it isn't going to make or break anybody, and we've talked about this in the past. I do think that our market, especially since mortgage rates doubled back in 2022, has shown strength and resiliency because, mortgage rates were super low. As you can see down here, we had the bottom of 2.68%. I know some people that have a mortgage rate in like the high ones, which 1.7%, which is crazy to even think about. And that changed very quickly over the span of like a year. Where mortgage rates went up pretty high, and it kind of put a shock to our market and slowed things down. But since mortgage rates have been kind of bumping around this, 6-7 percentage range, and they've started to curtail a little bit, we actually just had this past week, we had mortgage rates go into the below sub 6% for conventional mortgages. So there's out there, especially in a world where interest rates are one of the things that's holding people back. There's tons of people that want to buy houses, but when they look at the difference, especially the sticker shock, we've all got the sticker shock of inflation over these past couple of years. They look at a 3% mortgage versus a 6% mortgage. It's still a sticker shock, but it's a lot better than a 7.5% mortgage. I have a 7.25% mortgage, so I'm probably going to be refinancing here shortly. But man, I went to Publix the other day. I've been bachelor lifestyle here for the past couple weeks. My wife is up visiting her parents in Delaware. She's been gone since last Sunday, so it was fun for the time being. But now I'm definitely missing my wife and my baby. So I've been bachelor lifestyle. I've been going to Publix and getting my meals, trying to eat healthy. And for New York strip in Publix, they want $18.99 a pound, which is just so two steaks. It was like $29 or $35. And I was just like, man, it's cheaper to just go order hibachi and get a whole meal made for you and then split it over 2 meals. Or get Culver's, which I've also been doing. But either way, that's the sticker shock. That's the inflation. I remember when that New York strip was $8.99 a pound, and that wasn't too long ago. I did do the Costco hack recently. If you haven't seen that, you go to Costco, you buy a whole loin of New York strip. You can get it for $9.99 a pound, and then you cut it into steaks, whatever thickness you like. It's a good hack, but you need a place to store the steak. Definitely, you can get it for $9.99 a pound at Costco, so that's good. All right, enough of that. Let's go on to the news stories here, guys. All right, U.S. housing starts rose in November and December. Residential permits were up 4.3% in December. So this is, of course, across the nation where we're seeing housing starts pick up a little bit, and they went down because at the end of the day, they were also affected by the amount of people who have kind of left the market because of interest rates, and a lot of people that are on the fence and are in that wait and see type of mode. which is totally fair, right? We had a shock to our whole entire real estate industry. We also had a big lawsuit that happened over these past couple of years. People wanted to see how things have shaken out, but I feel like now, especially this year, I've been working with a lot of first-time home buyers that have said essentially the same thing, like, hey, I've been watching you for a while. I know you're kind of transparent on things, about the crash and if it could happen, when it could happen. But every year someone says it's going to crash, and I've been waiting a couple years now, and I'm tired of waiting. So, and that's the truth. Every year, every day, I see a new article that it's going to crash. And I had my real estate license since 2014. And I remember when I got it, a lot of my friends, family members were like, "Are you sure?" And like I was doing it part time. The ideal was to get into it full time. But they were like, "Are you sure? Do you want to do that? The real estate market's going to crash," and it just crashed like 6 years before that. So I don't know. No one can definitely predict the market, right? People can have an idea. They can point out 1,000 things. I can say I think real estate prices are going to go up. I don't know that. I don't think, I don't know real estate prices are going to go down. Prices tend to go up over time. We know that from history. That's all you can really bet on. But we got Desert Sunset here. I agree, red meat is ridiculous. I do. The price, $18.99 a pound. Well, the difference is like it's sliced, So for $8, they'll slice it, and it's like $8. Like, I mean, I guess I could afford it, but it's just such a sticker shock when you're like 2 steaks, $30, and you're like, okay, so that's, for me and my wife, it's one meal. So it's what it is these days, guys. All right, guys, back to the news story. So we covered our national news story. Let's talk about a state news story here, which this is really interesting. Palantir, Colorado's largest public company, leaving for Florida. State officials say they didn't receive notification that the controversial software analytics firm is moving headquarters from Denver to Miami. That's pretty interesting. I wonder why that is. Probably going to affect some jobs there. Palantir reportedly roughly 4,400 employees, but it doesn't say how many they have in Colorado. So wonder how many people are going to be moving here to Florida because of that. I think that's something that's really interesting, and I have a video coming out on this, and I talked about it a little bit last week, where obviously Palantir is big in the tech space and the AI space, and University of Florida is moving into downtown Jacksonville. They're putting a graduate campus there. They're going to have 10,000 students, or they want to have 10,000 students at this campus. The graduate campus is focused on tech and AI. So this is obviously moving to Miami, which is, the Silicon Valley of the South, as they say. But I think Jacksonville is going to have its own little thing going. In general, I think Florida is going to have its own thing going. So really interesting to see that. I also think it's a benefit to Florida. A lot of businesses are moving here. A lot of people are moving here because of how certain policies are, right? And that's just feedback that I'm getting from people I talk to. I've had a ton of appointments these past couple weeks, and a lot of people moving is because I'm tired of the bureaucracy in my state. And I'm not prompting them to say that or anything. They're just telling me. So I'm just being transparent with you guys here. What are you guys thinking? If you're looking to move, you're watching the channel, you live here locally, why do you think people are moving here? Or why are you looking to move here? Locals are like blown away. They're like, why are so many people moving here? And it's like, well, it's pretty awesome. Like it's a pretty great place to live. The weather's great. It's 75 degrees today, guys. Nice and like kind of overcast, but some peaks of sunrise coming out of there. But it's beautiful, and a lot of people like that. And like I said, I've been talking to a lot of people from Jersey, a lot of people from the north, and that cold's been beating people up. How do you feel about the neighborhood of San Salito? Awesome. JFish9. I like the neighborhood of San Salito. It's great. I think the location's great. It's got a nice little amenity center. But the location being, right off of State Road 16, I mean, you're 15, 20 minutes to the beach, 15 minutes to downtown St. Augustine. You get all your master plan amenities right there in relatively new homes. They also have a 55 plus in that neighborhood too. So I think it's a great little neighborhood. Location's awesome. It really is. And it's a D.R. Horton neighborhood, if I remember correctly. I believe it was. But yeah, it's a nice little neighborhood. The location's the best thing about it because you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get the master plan community that you normally find on the west side of 95, and you have it on the east side of 95 close to downtown St. Augustine. Now, I think like the schools is initially why maybe you would want to move on the west side of 95, but I think the schools are they've gone from like B ratings to A ratings now, if I remember correctly. I'd have to double check that, but yeah, I think San Salito is a great little neighborhood. Excuse me. Had some chicken Alfredo earlier. JFish9, Desert Sunset. Thank you so much. Any questions, guys, let me know. Throw them in the comments below. I'm here for you guys every Wednesday at 8 p.m. If you don't know, subscribe to the channel, like it, helps me out in the algorithm. Comment also helps me out in the algorithm. Here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. So let's go to the next news story here, guys. JFish, you are welcome, my friend. Any other questions? You're looking to buy a house in San Salito? Reach out to me and my team. We'd love to help. All right. University of St. Augustine for Health Sciences campus sold for $71.3 million. So if you're not familiar, this is right at the intersection of State Road 207 and 312. And this was actually an old news publication here in the area called the St. Augustine Record. They're still around, but this was their main building. And when the news was printing, I guess I don't think technically printing, but when it was, this was their main place. University of St. Augustine bought it, or the company did, and renovated it and put $74 million into the property itself, and then they sold it for 71.53, which is really interesting. So University of St. Augustine is still going to stay there. There's no change in that. I guess just the owner is switching. So I found that really interesting. That's also a huge property, and I imagine also maybe there's a way you can recoup that, through expenses and all, I guess, and write-offs. But if you put 74, I think they bought the building for $4.5 million. They put $74 million into it, and then they sold it for $71.53 million. I don't know. Is that a good deal? I don't think so. The math doesn't seem to math there, but maybe over the course of time and renovations, they were able to say it costs so much, but then write off so much. Who knows? Who knows, guys? What do you think about that? I share my screen there, right? Okay. Yes. All right. Let's go on to the next news story here. And this is really going in the northern part of St. Johns County. We've got two stories in the northern part of St. Johns County. I think these are pretty big deals, too. $34.5 million HarborChase community to bring 11th Florida location to northern St. Johns County. This is going to be in the development of Beach Walk, and is on track to open next year. It's going to be a luxury senior living community scheduled for a November 2027 opening. Purchased on an 8-acre parcel in Beach Walk for $4.8 million in June of 2025. In December, a $32 million permit was issued for construction. For total, the project is expected to be $34.5 million, according to a spokesperson from the developer. This will be 172 residences, including 82 independent living, 66 assisted living, and 24 memory care apartments. The community will offer studio, 1 and 2 bedroom floor plans. So this is something that was really interesting, and this kind of ties into, you don't need to leave, right? The bubble effect of these communities of, what they're creating is like, hey, you can live here, you can work here, you can play here, you can retire here, and you can eventually pass away here, right? So all within this area, they have St. Vincent's Ascension right on 95 and 210. Beach Walk is a massive community with a 400-acre lagoon that simulates a beach walk, so it's very luxurious. Then you have the high school right on the main road there. You have a Publix right across the street. You have your assisted living right there. Like, you have everything that you're looking for within a certain little area. You could literally drive without traffic 5 minutes and get to everything there. So that's a huge development going in the area, and with the aging population that we all know Florida has, I don't think it's a bad move. And I know a lot of people that are looking to move into those places and kind of live a similar lifestyle but be close to family. So it's going to be kind of a natural transition of people here in this area to that development, I imagine. So then that leads us to our next news story, or I think, yeah, here, I'll skip it, but we'll go to this news story where it talks more about commercial. And Nocatee's West End receives final approvals for $3.1 million professional office complex. So around 40,000 square feet, It's going to be in the master plan community of Nocatee, which is already it's rated many times by niche.com as the #1 master plan community in the entire state of Florida. It's been ranked top 10 in the nation a couple of times. But they're going to be putting West End office complex to feature 7 buildings ranging from roughly 4,300 square feet up to 8,700 square feet, looking just like this. So that same thing, right? Nocatee is kind of the in our area at least, the name brand when it comes to master plan communities. And you can go into Nocatee, you can go buy a new construction house, a townhome, and you can live, work, and play within Nocatee, right? So you can go to your amenities. They got a 3-story water slide. They have a water park with a restaurant. They got a zip line. They have all the types of activities. And then you also have your worship. You have your Publix. You have your restaurants. Your schools are within Nocatee. You can literally ride a golf cart or walk or bike, whatever, to the schools in Nocatee. There's 2 now, kindergarten through 8th grade, the academies, kindergarten through 8th grade in Nocatee. And now this is an additional place to work. They already had some other places to work there, but this is just another additional place to work. And I think that's probably for a lot of the people that are the professionals in that area, because at the end of the day, median sale price there is probably $850,000. So they need a place to work. And it's creating that bubble effect where you don't need to leave it all. So really interesting. What do you guys think about that? Do we like that lifestyle? Do we think it's a good idea? See, myself, I don't know. I'm more of like I like kind of the not uniform type of situation. Like where I live over here in St. Augustine, like not everything's to the nines beautiful. There's very beautiful parts. There's parts that are a little rough around the edges. I kind of like that. I don't know. I feel like when I live in when I drive around a community like Nocatee, it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It's very well done. It's very well appointed, but it's just not for me, I don't think. The one thing that drives me nuts, I don't know if you guys have the same issue, but Nocatee is a huge place. I think it's 26 square miles, right? And the entrance, you have essentially like the main entrance off of Nocatee Parkway, which is kind of an extension of 210. And then you have the southern entrance, which is off of Pine Island Road. And if you get off US 1 onto Pine Island Road, from that intersection to like the majority of Nocatee and the neighborhoods in there and where all the houses, are at, could be a 15-minute drive, right? From just US 1 and Pine Island Road could be in Nocatee. That would drive me insane. It would drive me insane to do that. And it's beautiful. It's a good ride and everything. I would just get tired and over it. I'd be like, I just want to get home. Let me just put a straight road through here. But it's, the winding roads with the tree-covered streets and all that kind of stuff. But that's just me, guys. Am I alone on that? Looks like it. No one seems to care. All right, on to the next news story. Let's go. Now, this is more or less just informative, but St. Augustine City Commission to hold special meeting on proposed property tax changes. They didn't say what property taxes were going to be changed, but they're holding a special meeting to discuss the possible impacts of property tax changes considered by the Florida legislature. So they're not saying what exactly, but more than likely you can pick apart that it's going to be about the elimination of property taxes. And that's going to be on Monday, February 23rd at 3:30. Will be taking place at the Alcazar Room in City Hall. So this is kind of the way for the public and also the commissioners to kind of take a look at like what, and maybe the state's doing a presentation, I'm not sure, of what this could look like and how revenues are going to be impacted and where that money's going to come from, and kind of give a little background on it, because apparently that's going to be put on the ballot this year to vote on, right? So I don't know. I think personally, I don't want to pay property taxes as a property owner. I don't want to pay it. And it's only for, apparently from what I've heard, only for primary owners, not if you own an investment property. So on my house, that would lower my bill by roughly $200 a month. I'll take that. If I refinance and I get that $200 off property taxes, I could see $500 off my bill. I'd love that. It'd be amazing. What do you guys think? Question for you. If you're watching from out of state, if you saw that Florida eliminated property taxes forever for primary owners, does that entice you more to move here? Answer freely. I just like to know. If you're here and you're watching, does that excite you? Let me know in the comments below. I'll move on to the next news story, but let me know what you think in the comments below. All right, this is the last one, guys, but this one's kind of a fun one. And also, I want to know what you think about this, but St. Augustine's largest music festival wants to move headliner weekend to May. This is by our pals over. I just had a coffee with Salim at St. John's Citizens. If you guys aren't following this publication, you 100% should. It's my favorite. It's my go-to source in St. Johns County. They're on it. These guys are awesome. Salim's awesome. Really big fans of what they're doing over there. I say this every week. Sing Out Loud Festival, if you don't know, is during September. Typically, it's a month-long festival, and they've made a headliner show out of it. I went a couple years ago. Mumford & Sons and the Black Keys were playing. One year it was like Noah Kahan and Gigi Perez. I think last year Eric Church played. Yeah, there's Eric Church right there. But essentially what they're saying is that it generates roughly $9 million in economic impact for the area. And September is typically a slow month, so they want to bring people in. So what they want to do is switch it over to May. Keep the rest of the Sing Out Loud Festival, including the city's month of music in September, will continue as is with local artist showcases. The St. Augustine Songwriters Festival, a record fair, music panels, and other events across several venues. Well, that's also during that time. So they're looking to move it to May because they have weather complications, right? So during September, you're really getting into hurricane season, so we have unpredictable rain. Where May it's also a slower month. It's right before summer, so they want to do it then. What do you guys think about that? I think it's kind of weird because they're keeping the name of Sing Out Loud Festival, and that's kind of like it before I would say Sing Out Loud Festival is known as more of a locals thing here. The headliner of like the big acts is kind of just resurfaced over these past couple of years. I know they did it several years ago, but the Sing Out Loud Festival for the month of September has always been kind of like, hey, there's music everywhere. There's, it's something for locals to come back out and enjoy their town after summer, because summer's, essentially the town is for the people that are coming to town, that are on vacation, where us locals are like, hey, we'll wait till the dead season, we'll go then and enjoy it. So that was kind of the way of like locals to go back and kind of enjoy their town, and also to help the businesses during the slow season. So I don't disagree that maybe the time should be moved for the headliner festival, but do they take the name? I don't know. What do you guys think? All right, let's see. Now, hopefully I'm reading this right. So please, McSlovin 8083. I like that name. Please let it happen responsibly. So if you're talking about property taxes, I mean, if that's what you mean, how do you do that irresponsibly? I don't know. It kind of seems irresponsible of us to pay property taxes in the first place, because then they just waste the money, and we all know it. We all just accept it. It's kind of weird. But hopefully they do it. They've got to have some way to shift that money around, because I'm all for getting taxed less. I'm all for not paying property taxes. Like 100%, I'm for that. I saw something the other day that said like most people work until May for free because of how many taxes they pay. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. To think about that makes me kind of sick. But we do have, obviously, firefighters, police officers, school teachers, schools, maintenance workers, city workers, all that kind of stuff that rely on that, and our infrastructure of today would not do well if they just turn that off, So we need to figure that out 100%. If that's what you mean by responsibly, yeah. We got AI. AI will make it happen. McSlovin, yes. Desert Sunset. Are you watching from Arizona? Nevada? I don't know. I asked people, if you're watching from out of state, if we didn't have property taxes, would that make Florida more of an attractive state for you to move to? Desert Sunset says, absolutely. We got Scott here. Yes, any state that gets rid of property tax would be appealing. Now, Scott, if you want to go further, you don't have to. Let me know. Are you retired? Being on a fixed income, is that something that attracts you? Like, hey, I don't have this extra bill. Or is it just like, hey, I got a family, I got a wife, kids, I got to raise these kids, it costs money. You know what? Extra $200, $300, could be more depending on the property. You're buying $1 million house, you could be paying around $20,000 in property taxes. That does a lot. It does a lot. Goes a long way. So let me know. Appreciate you, Scott. Thank you. McSlovin's back. Money has to come from somewhere. I hope they do it too. Yeah, for sure. And I feel like any logical person, like there's people that are like, oh, I'll go live in the woods and, forage berries and live off the land. I'm not that person, right? I want to live in society. I like that a lot. Society has a lot of pros for me. Um, but at the same time, I want to not pay. I want to make sure I don't mind paying taxes. I just want my money to be used responsibly. And I think that's where we're all at, especially with everything that's coming out now with the Epstein files. Good Lord. This isn't that show, guys. We're not going to go that far down, but we could go down the rabbit hole. Desert Sun, yes, Arizona. Okay, boom. I went to Las Vegas. This is completely different. I want to go to Arizona because I saw like this thing on Instagram, and I like hiking. And there's this Havavusa Falls, looks gorgeous. But I went to Las Vegas, and I'm not a gambler or anything. It didn't really impress me, and I felt like maybe the time of year I went, I feel like everything was like sepia tone. Like everything just didn't have any like pop of color. But I've lived on the East Coast my whole life, so maybe that's just how it is. And definitely the sunsets were beautiful, I will say. And I didn't mean to say that because you're desert sunset, but the sunsets are gorgeous. Scott, getting ready to retire, and it's a bill that can go up while your fixed income won't. Very true, Scott. But so here in Florida, and that's something I didn't realize that how many states don't have a homestead exemption. So here in Florida, if you're a primary owner, you have a homestead exemption, and that'll reduce your taxable value by $50,000, and it will also cap you at your taxes going up year over year 3%. So if property values around you go up 10%, the max that they can bring you up is 3%. So that's something that I really, really like about the state of Florida. It kind of incentivizes you to be a homeowner here, right? Because it kind of insulates you from that. Now, of course, your insurance can go up. There's always that. And that's really where that gain is probably made up, honestly. Your money's out of your pocket either way in that scenario. But Northeast Florida is a lot more insulated from those insurance issues than the rest of Florida. But the tax thing, I didn't realize a lot of states don't have that. So very interesting. I would think that a lot of states would want to keep people in their state, especially in today's world where you're able to move so much easier than you were however many years ago. I mean, just 10 years ago. It's easier to move today than ever. I thought about this. My mom and my dad got divorced when I was a kid. We moved from New York to St. Augustine, and my mom just drove there. Never been there once, and just drove there. Like, had no idea what it looked like. Maybe outside of like pictures she saw from my grandparents. No idea what it looked like. I mean, 95 is a pretty straight drive, so like that's not the hardest way to get, it's not the hardest thing to drive to Florida at that point, but still, it just seems like so wild to me to think that like I can go on Google pretty much any spot on the planet today and I can find images or videos of it in some shape or fashion, even like remote parts of the Amazon. So it's so interesting that like people just didn't have that before. So Scott, appreciate you, man. Property tax, so much fraud without taxes. Yeah, if you own your home now, like what if you have a mortgage on your home? Does that count? I don't know. At that point, then, is it like, hey, you got it for 30 years and then you pay up, right? I kind of think that I would personally prefer it. See, you go to sales tax, right? Hey, put it on sales tax, and then it's more of a consumption tax. So if you go and spend money outside of your house, then you're contributing, right? But you can also then curb your expenses if you don't, if you don't have enough money to do that kind of stuff. Maybe we take maybe we take taxes off something else to make it a little cheaper because that's the thing is what they say is that by removing property taxes is actually a regressive tax. And it helps a lot of the people that own homes, but the people that don't own homes are the ones who are affected the most. So, because at the end of the day, they get no benefit. And if property taxes are taken away here in the state of Florida, and it is very attractive to many people to move here, well, it might make owning a home a little more affordable for a short period of time. But once people are like, okay, I'm gonna get my affairs in order, I'm moving to Florida because I don't want to pay property taxes, and this fits within my budget, then that's just gonna surge demand and push prices up, right? So then would that make a big difference at the end of the day? For the people that got in early, yeah. And this is kind of like that same scenario of COVID, right? COVID, we had interest rates at 2.5%, 3.5%. The people that could buy then did buy then, and their houses also appreciated, and they also have a very low mortgage payment. Like someone who paid the same amount for a $300,000 house that I paid probably has 1,000, which is it's crazy. But you know, you got to strike while the iron's hot, I guess. But guys, that is it. We got about 30 minutes on here. We had a lot of engagement here. Desert Sun, I think you might be the winner today. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. We got 4 comments from Desert Sun. Yeah, you're definitely the winner today. Jay Fish, I appreciate you. Being on today in your comments. Mix Lovin, appreciate you as well. And Scott, I appreciate all of you guys being here every Wednesday at 8 p.m. going over the news you need to know about, the market stats. Did I flip that up? The market stats, news you need to know about, and doing a Q&A. So if you have any questions about anything we covered here today, guys, if you're watching live, watch the replay, let me know in the comments below. I will see you next week. Have a good one.